Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Muhabibina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man ihtada bihadihi ila yawmiddin thumma amma ba'd. One of the most important engendering activities that we as Muslims should be engaging in, especially if we seek to provide a message to humanity, is the message of service and khidmah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, خَيْرُكُمْ أَنْفَعَكُمْ لِلنَّاسِ, that the best amongst you are those who are the servants of others, or those who benefit others. And so bringing about benefit to others is one of the primary objectives of the Sharia, and one of the primary objectives of Muslims in general. And the Arabs used to say, Sayyidul Qawm Khadimuhum, that the leader of a people is the one who serves them. So this idea of service, in as much that it elevates us, and it's not a humiliating type of activity, rather it's an elevating type of activity. Because via service of others, it's via this service that you really realize the meanings that are outlined in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and in the actions and in the speech of what the Prophet ﷺ sought to teach to his companions and to those who came after the companions, this idea of service. And in fact, there wasn't a time too long ago when people used to vie with one another and how well they served others. And that was the criteria by which moral excellence was judged, your level of service towards others. And an increasingly narcissistic world and a narcissistic society and a self-consumed society that puts a premium on consumption, puts a premium on self-worth, that puts a premium on self-promotion, I think this is more important than ever, that we think about the spirit of service and the spirit of khidmah. And many studies have shown that one who is overly concerned with the self and their self-promotion and their self-consumption will not find true happiness. And these are studies done by non-Muslims that point out that via service of others, one can attain true felicity and have happiness and have the so-called good life. And then that how much you consume, what you own, eventually does not have a bearing on your identity, on your idea of self-actualization after your minimum needs are met. And so this was also one of the meanings that the Prophet ﷺ sought to convey to all of us, to Muslims, the meaning of zuhud and the meaning of doing only with what one needs and leaving out things that one does not need. And that the idea of one's worth, the idea of one's value to society is not measured in how much they own, and it's not measured in how many children they have, and it's not measured in how popular they are. Rather, it's measured in how beneficial they can be to others. And so, in this spirit of service, we also do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we don't necessarily want to seek some type of pecuniary or monetary reward that can come from any type of group or any type of individual. And this in the modern time is known as volunteerism, or tabarru', when you volunteer your time, volunteer your money, volunteer your skills to advance something that's overall beneficial to society. And we must approach our volunteerism and we approach our khidmah in the same vein and with the same level of professionalism, so to speak, as we do in our professional lives. So if someone has been blessed with skills in IT management or blessed with skills in web design, then in their volunteer work and in their service to the community, they should also approach their web designing and their IT management with the same fervor, and perhaps even more so, and with the same level of excellence and the same level of professionalism. And we should all keep in mind that the very first companions of the Prophet ﷺ was more or less an all-volunteer force. You know, the Prophet ﷺ didn't have the means by which to pay them for certain activities or certain services, and even the first armies that were raised by the Prophet ﷺ in response to aggression against them were all volunteer armies. There was no professional army. And so the idea of volunteerism is something that's quite important and that's quite potent. If you're doing something as a result of wanting to do it, and a result out of a desire to do so, and not as a result of being compensated in some manner, right? Then you should have all the more enthusiasm, then you should have all the more heart, all the more spirit into such an activity. Otherwise, if one is only compensated for the activities they do, once compensation ceases, then they will no longer volunteer or they no longer work. But the spirit that keeps the person, the khadim or the servant or the volunteer, and continues and allows him to continue with his service is something that's enduring. It's something that's not ephemeral, it's not temporary, it's not based upon any type of, as I mentioned, compensation, but rather it's based upon something they seek that will come later on, namely whether it's a form of blessings in this life or a form of blessings, inshallah, in the afterlife. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.